faces are so cold. I drive all night just to get back home. I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride. I'm wanted, dead or alive. Wanted, dead or alive.
The old Reb is back on the airwaves for the new year. How you doing out there? I bet you wonder what happened to me out there. Well, we had some health issues, folks, but we're managing. We're back in the saddle. And one of the things that I'm worried about right now is the fact that the gun controllers don't let up. Constant vigilance, my friends, like I always tell you. Without the Second Amendment, the rest of them don't mean a thing. Keep up the fight out there. Get a copy of the Constitution, read it, live it, talk about it at the kitchen table. I've said this many times. What are you doing about it? Are you paying attention out there? Are you waking up? Are more of you waking up? You should be. And if not, you should be in the fight, in the thick of it, to do the right thing. And the right thing is called freedom. And you have to fight for it on a daily basis. You can't afford to waste any time anymore because we are so close. And if you have an issue with anything, I'm not sure what information to give you anymore. I tell you to call your congressmen and your senators, but some of the ones that we have fall on deaf ears. And they are concerned about their agenda. They're not concerned about yours and mine agenda. Their concern is them. Them. And let's eliminate this democracy business once and for all, because we're not. We are a republic. And I don't know. Even the Constitution is a different document, you know. But we have to have some kind of rule of law. You know, you got the communist, fascist, Marxist running all over the place, running slipshod over all of freedom-loving Americans out here. Got these court cases where these patriots are being brought up on charges, and yes, some of them have done something wrong, and yes, some of them deserve what they get, but not all of them. Not all of them. And if you were to believe that somebody incited anything on January 6th, then you've been watching the wrong news channel. You have to understand the fake news is out there, and they'd like to think they're still in control. But, you know, with alternative media, and I'll give you a real good example. Brian Lang with Live Truth Radio and TV, he's on it. Along with Mark Hoffman, Patriot Nation Radio, and on and on. There's more of them out there, and you know who they are. Too many names to keep track of. Lazaro Escenaro constantly fighting behind the scenes, sending me constant news and information. And we appreciate that a lot. And then, of course, the Liberty Report with Jeremy Dieter out there, a freedom fighter from the get-go that don't let up. And all these fine folks out there that are fighting for freedom. And Jared with Guns and Gadgets, who is on a daily basis coming up with information for the Second Amendment. And something that I used to try to do, I've been on the air since 2014, and a lot of these other guys before that. But we try to keep you updated as the best we can. And we also want you to know that we support the American biker big time. freedom fighters all around the country. You know who you are, fighting for freedom. And I sometimes realize that the old Reb can get into some controversy and say some things. But I'll tell you what, we can agree to disagree, and if I make a mistake, I'll come on here and tell you so. I've said this many times already. Freedom isn't free, folks. I've been fighting for freedom all my life. I want to be free. I want to live free to be free. I want to slap leather in a Harley Davidson and get on down the road. That's my creed. That's my mission, to be free. And I can't do it unless I'm helping everyone else to be free and waking you up. This is a message, a wake-up call for all of you patriots and like-minded individuals who think outside the box. Like my good friend, Slider Joe. Slider Joe, the real deal. There's a fighter. I don't know how the guy does it. I think he's tried to give up several times, and freedom is so ingrained in the gentleman that he has to keep up the fight. And you can't blame him. I'm the same way. I keep thinking, well, I'll probably not go on anymore, not come on the air. But I've had folks like Brian Lang a long time ago encourage me, and I'm still here, and I'm back. And I'm glad to be back. I had to undergo, and I'm kind of a private guy. I don't like talking about what's all wrong with me, but I had to have a hip replacement, which is not the most pleasantest thing, but I'll tell you what, it's a lot better than maybe having your knee operated on. Takes a little bit to get around and move around, but once you get going, the going's good. And the major hip pain is gone. And of course, these things happen as the age creeps up on you. Right? Yeah, it is what it is. But you know what? We go as long as we can. My objective is to broadcast as long as I can, whatever it takes, along with my good friends up in Gettysburg, South Dakota, the Flatlands broadcasters up there, MacGyver and Skeeter, and all the rest of the crew up there on the Rapid Fire #2 station, our flagship station up there, getting out all over the place. And we want to thank all the volunteer donors that donated to help keep that station on the air up there, which was in danger of going off. We've had that problem here too, but lo and behold, people have come forward again, once again, without asking, to help us keep the thing going here. Because I had thought maybe we might have to hang it up. And we are on rapidfire.caster.fm. Now, when you go on there, for some reason, and it's a kind of a suspicious thing to me. I did the research on it. It'll say it's not a secure site, but don't worry about it. Go on the site. You're not going to give me any information. There's nothing there. No credit card information, none of that. That's something Google did. Because when I check with my server people, that site is secure. So it's a Google thing. But if you don't want to mess with that, then you go to Roku TV, get your very, 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 very smart TV, and find My Tuner Radio, get My Tuner Radio, or whatever it's called. My Tuner is what it's called. And Get Me Radio apps and load them, and we'll come right into your living room with the best rock and roll on the planet and some hilarious other things we got on there and some information that you need to know that you aren't going to get on mainstream. If you do, it's fake news. I don't like any of them. Don't watch any of them anymore. And some of this alternative media out there, like Real America's Voice, the Charlie Kirk Show, and all these people, they come on like gangbusters, and but when you try to contact them and you have a story for them or you want to talk to them, it's just like mainstream media. I don't know if these people want to be movie stars or whatever it is, or they're too important to talk to you, or they're too busy. But if you're alternative media and you're trying to fight for freedom, then you should answer other alternative media that tries to get a hold of you. I have a story on January 6th. I need to get it out there. You've heard it. I've had it. I broadcasted it. I need others to get it out there. The guy's name is Doug Sweet. I've checked him out. He's legitimate. He was the first man to be arrested on January 6th. He's got a story to tell. It's a good one. It's a good one out there, brothers and sisters. We need Doug's sweet story on more media. It just because the Reb puts it out, well, I'm sure that my numbers have dwindled, but I'll tell you this. Without warning, within the last 2 or 3 weeks, they took Rapid Fire Radio and TV page off for no reason at all. It just disappeared. It was gone. They took us off once again. The first page we had 3,000 people. The second one, we were closing in on 600 people, and boom, they must have a thing about numbers. I'm not even too sure this video will play. It may. They took us off. They didn't give us an explanation. Nothing. There was no, I hadn't been on. What's that got to do with anything? People die and they still got Facebook pages on there. So don't give me any excuse that, well, you weren't using it, because we know better. It's an infringement on our First Amendment rights, and we have Rapid Fire Radio TV's page back up once again. Now, our content is not to give you false information. Our content, which has a disclaimer right there that somebody does not know how to read on the high level somewhere, that says we're not responsible for a lot of these stories that we put out, but we try to do the best we can to get the truth out there so that the truth can set you free. And we don't want to be censored for something that we didn't do. We didn't do it. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. You took us off of there and we were gone just like that. And we have a right to be on here just like everybody else. And we are a radio station and TV station. You're looking at it. We're sitting in the studio right now, state-of-the-art studio. Thousands of dollars went into this thing out of my own pocket to fight for freedom. And then a handful of donors who believed in us to help us out, which is greatly and as humbly as I can tell you, appreciated very much. Some even doing some advertising with us, and I made it reasonable. I cut some fairly good, maybe even real good commercials for folks and play it to them, and then they go, we got to have this. Okay, so then they, no contracts, no nothing. They advertise with us as long as they want to. If they don't want to no more, we're still friends. Because that's how it works with alternative media here in South Dakota. The last outlaw, you're looking at him right here. Freedom isn't free, folks. It isn't free. You can't sit by the coffee table and hope that somebody's going to win in your football team when we got all this stuff going around us. I understand it. And don't let it get in the way. Don't get complacent because you may think things are starting to look good and great, because they're not. They're not looking good and great. There's an element out there that'll do whatever they can to stop freedom fighters from enforcing their God-given rights to be free. And we have to make sure that we are united in the just cause that we're in, so that we can stay free, and your children and grandchildren, you won't have to explain to them that we were free one time and now We're not. We don't want giant debt to be handed to them. And that's what's going on. And they love it. Interest off credit cards go to wealthy bankers to foot their luxurious lifestyle. Excuse me. I've often wondered about these people out there, these elite banker folks that control everything. You know, if everything that they do is like, you know, the food we eat, the um, essentials that we use, all have something in them that can cause great harm to our health. I don't care if you don't believe it or not. I know it. And I've been on this planet a long time already to know that I've outlived all my relatives only because of natural remedies. They themselves looked at me and said, "You're going to," and I'm not bragging about this, folks. I'm telling you that this is what really happened on my journey through life, where my own relatives looked at me and said, "You're going to outlast us all with all the natural stuff you like to take." Well, why couldn't they have listened to me? And they'd still be here, and I wouldn't have be the last man standing in my family. That's what bothers me the most, you know. And it bothers all freedom fighters who try to get the truth out there and sometimes can get overzealous about it. But you know what? When it's ingrained in you and you wake up and you feel that something is wrong and yet you want to be free and get everyone else, it's like, you know, an impending disaster's coming. So wouldn't you just want to warn folks that, hey, this is going on? It's going on. And we can't sit back. We have to stay on it every day. You know, there's people out in other states in this land that are trying to, you know, enforce their own gun control limitations. And then on the other hand, the state of Alabama just got rid of their permit program. Now they're a free state again. I don't know how we arrived at all this stuff under our current um, document that is supposed to be something. But I guess the states decide they can make their own laws and do what they want to do, you know? And that's why you have to watch. And I've done a lot of watching lately to see what's going on, and it doesn't look good. South Dakota inundated with a snowstorm that we haven't seen in a long time. Pretty much we were spoiled. Some of our winters didn't even seem like winters here, folks. But the South Dakota people are resilient and they survive it. Terrible winters so far here in my neck of the woods, and probably, out east and back west, the weather's gotten a little out in the, we call out western South Dakota more like the banana belt. I lived out there for 20 years and I loved it there. I miss it. But at a certain point in time in your life, when you outlast everybody, it's time to move on and move to an area that is still laid back with principles. And that is where we're at. The flatlands, prairie lands of central South Dakota are my roots. I returned to them. And it's sad when you have to be in a neighborhood where the crime goes out of sight in Rapid City, South Dakota. Same way in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Crime, it's bad. And after enduring a lot of destruction at my own place that I built and the way things were going, had I not left there, I would have lost the place because of the COVID deal. That's a fact. I wouldn't have had a job, wouldn't have been able to make the payment, and everything fell into place for me to get out, sell the place, but not what I wanted, but I guess enough to handle what was down the road for me. And you have to plan your thing too. And if you're going to do something and you're going to go somewhere, do your homework. and make sure it's the right decision for you to make and not let anyone else try to tell you anything different. And these folks that would tell me that, like somebody made a bold statement here a week or two back where they said the trucking industry will never shut down. They rely on that. Well, now, how do you know that? How do you know that? You think that it'll always be? Look at all the car companies we had at one time. How many do we got now? 2 or 3? Who did that? Don't listen to what the old Reb tells you. Do your research and find out why this type of stuff happened to you and me and all our other extended family out there. We know why, and this business of telling us about gasoline shortages, the biggest joke that ever lived. You had a so-called gasoline shortage in 1973. Then we don't hear about it. Now we have a gap from 73 to 2023. What happened in between there? Didn't seem to be much of a shortage, did it? We're still here. We still have gasoline. And then they want to push all this electric stuff on us. And half the time it don't work. Especially out here in South Dakota, I'd like to see one of them electric cars when it's like 50 below out with 65-mile-an-hour winds. One can only imagine. There's enough gasoline on this planet, probably more than water, oil. We know it, and Uncle Sam knows it. But they have to come up with this thing like that we're on the last barrel and we got to have a world price on it. And we're working on it. You got that guy out there that keeps telling you, we increased more jobs. You know what, brother? You didn't increase anything because small business creates jobs, not you. I don't know about the corporations. Personally, I don't like them. I don't like any of them. Everybody's got this mentality they got to head to one of them, The little guy, he might have a little higher price, but I'd rather support him because at least I know where I stand with him. I don't stand good with the rest of them, the big people. The exclusive club that we are not part of. So you take heed on the words of the old Reb and do your research out there and pay attention to everything, your surroundings. And don't take it lightly. We've had already across this country authorities showing up to houses inquiring about folks' guns. They have. I don't know if they're testing folks to see what'll happen. I can't hardly believe that these people would go out. They'd have to know that somebody if they keep it up, they're going to run into the guy that's going to tell them it ain't working for you. We'll just go with that. I'm not a violent guy and I'm not encouraging it. I'm just telling you. They're going to meet up with somebody that's going to say that not your problem. Stay out of it. When a guy wants to be free, let him be free. If he's law-abiding, leave him alone. We got enough laws. We don't need any more. We don't. We don't need any more laws. One time I did a show. I barely got a word out of my mouth, and a guy popped in and called me names beyond belief. And the beauty of the thing is, it's called blocking him. I don't hear from the guy no more. You don't have to. He can say what he wants, but he ain't saying it to me, and he ain't getting on my show to interrupt me because it's my show on my lawn, like I used to tell you. That's the way your rights work. If you're on your lawn, you can do what you want to do. I'm on my lawn. This is my show. you know, That's how the Constitution should work. If you interfere with my rights, you have to go to your lawn, and then you can institute your rights how you think they should work. If it breaks the law, then you deserve what you get. Now, we ought to do another note here on what's going on with C.J. Abernathy. You haven't seen him for the longest time. Now, I'm not going to badmouth the guy. I'm not going to be overjoyous that something happened, but it did. And he got into trouble. And he faced some charges that he had to plead guilty to a couple of them, and he pled not guilty to a couple of others. And he will be sentenced in February, being held over in North Carolina. But the way it was gone about isn't exactly the right way. And I can't say that he wasn't warned, because he was. He fought freedom to an extreme. And we have to have level heads when we're fighting for freedom, and watch our choice of words so as not to get ourselves into trouble like Mr. Abernathy did. Now, I thought he was a nice young man. He was a Purple Heart recipient, and he served our country as a United States Marine. But obviously, down the road or whatever, and I can't say one way or the other, but there was some kind of an issue. Part of it was the fact that he felt that his daughter was hijacked. Okay, we can sympathize with that. But there's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things, and the path of wrong is what happened. We won't elaborate on it anymore. But that's why you do not see C.J. Abernathy out there fighting for freedom anymore. So I leveled with you on that the best way I know how. No animosity towards C.J. Abernathy. Right now, I wouldn't wish any of it that's on him right now on anyone. But we're all responsible for our actions, and we have to go with the consequence when we make a wrong move or a mistake, however you want to phrase it. All right. Remember, constant vigilance. Keep on watching out there. Some may not agree with this video. That's fine. I don't give a damn. You know what? Turn the dial off if you don't like it. You can go a long ways doing a video without having to use a whole pile of profanity. I would love to engage folks that could just speak one time where they don't have to put all this other trash into it. Because I don't, I'm an old biker too, and I understand it. Privately, I can say some things too. But you know what? If we're going to do these broadcasts, let's do it right. I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just telling you. We get further down the road this way than not at all, than the alternative method. All right? So with that in mind, the old Reb is going to leave now, and I want you to keep rocking in the free world out there, what's left of it. And remember, you have God-given rights ahead of anything else. And the rights given to you don't even have to be from the government. You got them from God first. So think about that for a moment in the struggle for freedom. Arm yourselves, stay vigilant, do the right thing. And the question of the day is, what have you did to help others today, tomorrow, or next week? God bless all you freedom fighters out there. It's great to be back here, to get back on here and visit with all of you. The old Reb, I'm out of here for now.